Okay, I'd like to welcome our new planning board member this evening, Lynn Versace, who was just appointed by the town board. And we're back to having a full board again. So at this time, I'd like to go ahead and have the secretary perform roll call attendance.
Here. Here.
You okay? Well, we can turn the fan off.
Turn the
in
fan
back
off.
then. Okay. Can you hear us now in the back?
You can turn it off.
That's as high as it goes? Okay. You have to kill the fan, I guess. That's the only way that's going to make this work.
Oh yeah, you can talk into this.
All right.
That's much better.
I am here.
Here. Here. Okay. All right. All the board members received the minutes from the May 17th meeting. If there's no questions or corrections to be made, could I get a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll make that. Okay,
All right, who made the motion?
Paul Dibs.
Paul made a motion, okay. Seconded
Second.
by,
Thank
Sir?
okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. Okay, our first item on the agenda this evening is adjourned public hearing for the Smith 3-lot subdivision. We've received a letter from the applicant's engineer that he wishes to be adjourned to the June 21st meeting. Can I get a motion to adjourn the public hearing?
So
to
moved.
6:21.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. All right. Next item is discussion regarding Hudson Valley lighting for amended site plan. We have the applicant here this evening.
Hi, Amy Bombardiri with Day Stacosa, representing Hudson Valley Lighting.
Okay. You've received the copy of the the amended site plan approval, the resolution?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
No concerns with the resolution as it's written?
no.
Okay. All right. So basically, it's just a vote of the board at this point. I need a motion to approve the amended site plan.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion's made, seconded. Get a roll call vote, please.
Yeah, aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. You're all
Thank you.
set. You're welcome.
Good night.
Okay. Okay, our next item on the agenda this evening is the Downey Energy liquid propane storage.
Good evening.
Evening. Okay, I believe we're here this evening to vote upon a negative declaration for the project. So at this point, need a motion. motion to approve the negative declaration produced by the planner. Somebody who wants to make a motion? Okay. Somebody want to make a motion to deny it?
Well, what do we do?
I'm stuck here. It's either yes or no, so, I mean, we're at a... It's been written.
Well, we asked for that.
Yeah?
We asked for that.
Somebody makes a motion to move this one way or the other. Kind of in a spot here
They
now.
can make a motion to approve, and then they just vote it right down.
We're not going anywhere.
Might just make a motion, and
Yes,
just
but
vote
we-
one way or the other. Maybe she don't.
That's the vote. Just leave it. Yeah.
Bruce.
Come on,
Just leave it. Leave it.
Paul.
Yeah,
Yeah, so at least somebody should make a motion to at least entertain it, and then you can vote however you want to vote, but, you know, this board authorized the planner to draft it, so let's make a motion, and then if you want to, you know, you can vote yes or vote no on it.
somebody, yeah, so somebody needs to move it, well, and then it goes to a roll call vote.
Right.
And then everybody makes their decision individually at that point.
And remember, this is not an approval of the project, this is just approving.
Correct.
Just
negative
the
declaration.
secret determination, which
Right.
then gives him the ability to go back to the town board.
So then I'll make the motion to entertain this so we can
Right.
do a roll call vote.
All right, but the motion was to approve or deny it.
Or approve or deny.
Right.
So
It'd be
there's
one
no-
or the other. So we know if we're going, you know, one way or the other.
So
That seems like a close thing.
the resolution as drafted by the planner is to approve it.
Okay?
So to move this along, then I will make the motion to approve it, and then we'll make a decision from there.
Right.
Okay. So a motion's been made. Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay, motion's made, seconded. All right, roll call vote, please.
No. Nay.
No.
Nay.
No.
Not today.
At this point,
You brought us down this yellow brick road for a year and a half, guys, and all of a sudden, somebody's minds have changed for, I don't know what reason. It proved to you beyond any
let's
sort of burden of proof. ladies and
put the microphone, pull the
gentlemen.
microphone to
That there
you.
are no issues here.
Yep.
And now we can't even get off of ground zero here and go back to the town board.
I think the board needs to have a meeting with staff regarding this. I think it's not gonna happen tonight, so. There's a few, I think there's members that have unanswered questions.
We've had 18 months.
This all went on during this, remember, this all went on during COVID. You know, there was a lot through the Zoom meetings, there was a lot of things that were discussed.
We haven't been forthcoming with everything you've asked, above and beyond. I don't know what's left to discuss that
Okay.
you guys didn't ask. If that's the flavor of the board, then it's unfortunate we have so many people here. I can't say what I want to say tonight, but it's,
You feel
You know.
free, I say what you want to say.
no,
It
no,
doesn't
no, no,
matter.
no, I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, our next item on the agenda this evening is a Lawrence Farms conversion of office building to apartments.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, good evening.
Paul Pilon, architect, here on behalf of the Lawrence Farm Project. I have with me Megan Lawrence. Just really briefly, looks like you have a full agenda. Last meeting we had, there was some concerns about a few things. I think we've tried to resolve them. The first one was that there was a fence that was actually connected to the building that they are going to be converting from office shop into these 4 apartments. We have modified the fence line. It is now going to not connect to the building in any way. So we are also going to be moving the construction trailers that we talked about previously within the limits of that fence. So we hope that that resolves that issue.
Okay.
We also had, excuse me, some discussion about the parking. By change of use from office shop into these 4 apartments, it would increase the number of required parking spaces by 2. We had indicated that Lawrence Farms never really met the requirement for their parking. There was discussion about the board waiving these 15 spaces. So I believe we need to actually vote on that, but that's your purview. We were asked by the consultants whether or not a data table was needed, and I spoke to the zoning administrator. I believe, if I understood her correctly, she's waiving that. And I am aware that we do need Dutchess County Health Department approval. Our engineer has submitted a letter and an application to the Dutchess County Health Department. We are waiting for a response from them. We are hopeful that you will perhaps consider preparing a resolution with that as a contingency of some type. And so that's, I believe, where we're at.
Okay. So I guess the first order of business, I guess we have to have a vote for that change in the parking.
The waiver?
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. So, all right, so first thing would be is, we need to, if we're going to approve the waiver for them being the previous 13 parking spaces to their proposed current 15, do we have a motion to allow the applicant to go up to 2 extra spaces?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion's made and seconded. Go ahead and perform roll call vote, please.
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay. All right, so that, and then that would be, a note would be put on this current updated plan,
It
and,
is currently on the plan. I failed to mention that. Yes,
Okay,
I did
perfect.
put a note to that effect, that if the zoning administrator finds that we're lacking those spaces, we will revisit that issue.
okay. All right, and then I think we did have some conversations with the engineer earlier about the Department of Health. Obviously, you're gonna need that approval prior to getting a building permit, so that would be a condition of an approval,
Okay.
okay? The fence line, I think everybody's happy with the new changes, so that takes care of that issue. I believe that's it. I don't know if anybody else at the table has any comments regarding this? Okay, so if we're, I guess if we've cleared up all the loose ends on it, entertain a motion for the planner to draft a resolution of approval.
Second.
Okay, motion's made, seconded. Let's go ahead, roll call vote, please. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Listen, aye. All right,
Very good, thank you. May I ask one question?
go ahead.
How long will it take to get the resolution prepared? Is it possible to get on the next available meeting, the next meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have room on the next meeting
I
for you.
appreciate your help. Thanks so much.
Okay, you're welcome. Have a good evening.
Yeah, Tom, take over.
Okay. Okay. Our next item on the agenda this evening is Gasland Petroleum Route 9D in Hughesonville.
Before you call it, Mr. Chairman, our planner, Mr. Lapine, is just running a little late. Can I ask that you hold this application, the next one, until he arrives?
Okay, so you want us to hold?
Thank you.
Please, no comments, all right? All right, we will. Okay, all right, so we will move this later in the, agenda. Our next item on the agenda this evening then is Popeye's Wappinger Falls Chicken.
Chris is doing Popeyes as well.
The what?
Chris is doing Popeyes as well.
He's doing Popeyes as well?
Yes, you can go to mine.
All right, so we're kind of, all right. Is the applicant here for Myers Run LLC? All right,
About the hydrotherapy.
all right. Do we
The
have,
hydrotherapy?
you want to do, yeah, is colon hydrotherapy here? Yeah, why don't you come on up and,
Okay. My name is Marie, last name is Lowak. I'm a registered pharmacist, and I've been a pharmacist for almost 27 years. And now I decide that I want to help my community more than I've been by providing a service called colon hydrotherapy. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. What it does is a device that sends water to the bottom part of your colon and remove all the waste that's been sitting there for maybe years and years that can cause a lot of disease. Like we said, our gut, we have to trust our gut. We can trust our gut, but if you don't feed the gut or take care of the gut, you cannot trust the gut. Your colon, your gut, is what causes all of the disease and sickness we're seeing right now. So the best way to do it is not getting like a colonoscopy every 7 years. Sometimes it's too late. So if we do cleanse it like once a month or every like 3 months or a couple times a year, it will prevent a lot of disease. So what I did, I intended to open it from home. I live at 58 Kent Road in Wappingers Falls, but I've changed my mind and I want to do it in a commercial building. So I had applied for the business to be done at home, but I changed my mind now. So I want to know what are the regulations regarding opening it in a commercial building.
okay. And this is a regulated, what you do, is it regulated by some state agency?
It's not regulated by New York, but it's regulated in Florida, California, Texas. But I consult with the Department of Health, and I have a letter from them. They referred me to the Department of Education that regulate nursing in hospital. I have reached out to them, but I haven't heard from them yet. I'm waiting to hear from them.
Okay, all right. Okay. So in the interim, you did receive 2 letters from one from our town engineer and the other one from our town planner.
I received an email.
You received the email, correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right, and in the email, there was 2 letters. I mean, each one had their own review letter for the project.
Yeah, I received one that requested that I have the certification from, or a letter from the concerned department and the chemical that's gonna be used to clean the device. And also what's the contraindication with the contaminants for the water. And I have all of this here.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
I believe she's saying that she wants to withdraw her application. That she does
Oh, she
not,
did.
she doesn't want it in her home anymore. Is that correct?
Yes, I don't want it in my
Right.
home. I want
Oh,
So it
okay.
sounds like
I
it's-
didn't-
Yeah,
I-
yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
then I didn't hear that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
A little too much background noise between the air conditioner. Okay. All right, so if you're wishing to withdraw the application,
Right, but my question is, what are the regulations if I want to do it at the commercial place?
If
Or
you-
what the zoning,
if you want to do it in a commercial building somewhere, I'll have the director of, got your it's too long of a title for me to remember right now, but she can explain to you real quick what you need to do.
But it would depend on where you found the space. So why don't you look for a commercial space and then give me a call? And then I can really help you. Different zones, it may not be allowed in, and others it's fine. It's just too hard to say generally. So you have to find that space first, and then I can help you.
all right. Thank you.
Okay, so going into a
Commercial
residence,
place,
yeah,
yes.
that might be a little bit easier
Okay, all right.
than trying to do it out of your home.
Yes, it will be very easier for me because at the house I have to do some construction, and I don't think it's gonna work. So commercial place will be easier.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome, thank you. Okay. So we're going back up to our next item, which is the Gasland, Route 9D in Houstonville. So we have the attorney here this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you again for that courtesy. Mr. Lapine is present. I'd like to just reorient where we are with this application. The board closed the public hearing at May 3rd, left it open for a written comment period of 30 days. That has now closed. We are in receipt of those comments and are reviewing them. We also received Mr. Wood's letter of June 1st, 2021. We have some comments on that. We thought it would be beneficial to go through those with you, so I'm going to ask Mr. Lapine just to go through that letter with you. And obviously, any other comments that you wish to share with us tonight.
Okay, all right.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Chris Lapine with the Chase & Companies. So we're in receipt of Mr. Wood's letter dated June 1st, and we wanted to just discuss a couple of details as it relates to this letter. With regards to number one, testing of the wells of the surrounding properties to create a baseline for future monitoring by the applicant. With regards to the testing that's being proposed, is there a baseline of parameters that you're looking for us to test according to? And also, which residents in particular that we're looking for as it relates to the property boundary?
I believe it'd be the surrounding, any of the properties surrounding the proposed site.
Immediately adjacent to it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it's similar to, all the way around. It's similar to what we've done in other projects in the past where, there's been environmental concerns, where something in the future may come in and possibly create an issue. So this would create a baseline to be kept on file for, future reference. That's all.
Mr. Chairman, for clarification, would adjacent properties include those across the street?
Yes.
Yeah. Huh?
Yes.
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 Yeah, anybody surrounding, all four sides.
Okay.
Would it be best to work out a list of parameters with the consultant engineer as to what you would like tested for?
Yeah. We could have the engineer provide a list of standard
And the county health department, we could get them involved. We've gotten them involved on these, you know, similar types of,
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, the last
requests.
the last project we did this was Tractor Supply.
yeah.
I think whatever we did with that project would be acceptable here.
Yeah, well, let's go look at that, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So you'd be able to provide us a copy of what you did for Tractor Supply?
We'll provide you with a copy of that.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Fantastic. Let me just grab my utility plan for the next discussion item.
Chris?
No.
So we want to just
camera's
face
right
that
there.
camera up there on the wall. Yep, perfect.
So you asked us to explain in greater detail the applicant's proposal as it relates to the water line extension. The proposal that's set forth is to I'm sorry?
But, yeah, just hold the microphone, it should be able to hear.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yeah. What was that?
Picture?
Unfortunately, we don't have the ability to put that up onto the screen. Yep.
All right, well, let's go.
Yep.
I
It-
can turn it
well,
around.
You could turn it back so they could see it. Okay. All right, enough with the comments, please. This is not, we're not taking comments tonight.
So the intent of the water line extension
Yep.
is to tap into the water line along New Hamburg Road and extend an 8-inch water main along the western side of our property. That would then go to the northern border of our property line. We were asked by the town at one point in time if we'd be willing to extend that line to Marlerville Road. We did consent to extending it to Marlerville Road. We don't own the property between our property and Marlerville Road. To do that complete extension, we would need the assistance of the town to secure an easement from the property owner to allow us to extend it all the way to Marlerville Road, but the client has committed to doing that. It was also discussed prior, while we're doing this installation of the water main, for the two residents to the west of us, if we would be willing to tap the water main and extend a copper service to their property line. The owner or the client has committed to doing that as requested. We were also asked at the end of our property line if we can install 2 valves with one line going towards the west for a potential future connection to a western property. We've offered to do that with the valve, and we've also to put in a valve at the end of our property line until such time if you need more time to get an approval for extending it to Marlerville Road.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on that item?
Just that the two residents that are there, would it be a big deal to just hook them up completely
If they want it.
if they want it?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Can you, because it's just two residents, would that be a problem to run the water line directly to their house?
To run it to their house?
Yeah.
If they want it.
If they wanted
If they
it?
wanted it.
Yeah, I think we can extend it to their dwelling, if that's, and then
To
they
their
can have-
dwelling is fine.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. All right. Any other questions regarding the water? No? No.
That's pretty much it. With respect to noise, number 3, any possible operational mitigation proposed, such as no outdoor sound systems on pumps or otherwise, limits on hours of operation. I apologize if we didn't make ourselves clear during the presentations. The applicant has no intentions on having speakers which play music under the canopy. and they will not have the screens on their canopies as well that are used for advertisements. So that type of noise that's accustomed at some other stations will not be present at this station.
Okay. All right, so there'll be no, okay. So no equipment to produce noise.
We'll speak to the hours of operation. There's another comment later on in here. I believe it's comment
Yes,
number
there
10.
is, it's further in. Yeah. Okay.
We'll-
Anybody have, before you go, any of the members have any questions regarding that one?
No, we're good.
Okay, all right. Let's go on to the next item.
We can update our plans and show the location of the venting system on that. It's going to be in close proximity to the tanks, so it'll be the furthest distance away from all the neighboring properties.
How
Okay.
high are the vents? That's a
Yeah.
concern. How high are the vents so the neighbors don't have to smell that?
They are 6 to 7 feet in height, those vents.
Can they be extended if there's an issue later on that they
Yes,
can?
they can be extended.
Also, just a point of clarification, when the fuel tanks are being filled, there's not an odor. There's not an odor coming from the vent lines that you've asked about.
I understand. I know that. I know that.
With regards to number 5, address the status of the applicant's request of the elimination of the 4 to 6 p.m. no left turn restriction or the provision of signage for no U-turns along New Hamburg Road if there will be such a restriction. I think during the course of our last public hearing, we had asked if we can get a letter from the town acknowledging that they would like this restriction removed. This is something that the county has asked for, DPW, so I would ask if the board could get permission to their traffic consultant acknowledging that the town's in favor of removing this restriction. It would help us in our further discussions with the county.
Okay.
We have to authorize that to get written or no?
Yeah, we have to authorize that, correct? Yeah. So that letter would have to be written. All right. So at this point, I mean, with everybody's feeling, do we get a motion to authorize our traffic consultant to write a letter regarding the 4 to 6 p.m. no left turn restriction?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion's been made. Do we have a second?
One second.
Second, okay. Let's do roll call vote, please.
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay.
Number 6 requirement that the property owner will maintain the sidewalks. We will put notes on our plans stating the same, and we will also enter into a maintenance agreement with the town as it relates to the sidewalk maintenance.
Okay.
Address what kind and level of lighting is proposed for the sidewalks. Since the sidewalks lie outside our property lines, we were trying to maintain the town's regulations in terms of minimizing off-site glare or obstructions associated with our lighting. We have it anywhere from 0 to 0.01 foot candles. The town code allows you to go up to 0.05 foot candles. We can certainly provide some additional illumination to the sidewalks from our site. If that's something that would suit the board, if you're looking for something 0.05 or under for the sidewalk, we kind of need some input and guidance from you if you're looking for us to illuminate the sidewalks along New Hamburg Road and Route 9D.
You guys have some concern with this one, or?
Just, is there Central Hudson lighting out there? That might be sufficient.
I don't believe there's Central Hudson lighting along the entire stretch of the sidewalks that we're adding along New Hamburg and Route 9D.
I'd just be scared of putting more light out there, than we have to. I don't know. You got a sidewalk, so it needs light, but
Yeah.
you don't want to put too much light for anybody that lives across the street.
Yeah, we do, in all honesty, we do have dark spots. We've went to 0 at the property line in a number of locations where the sidewalk is not illuminated.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, trying to maintain a minimum out there, that's, I think, the goal here. Especially with glare. Glare is an issue at any intersection. You don't want things glaring at the oncoming vehicles in any direction.
So, Mr. Chairman, if we kind of kept it under your maximum of 0.5 at the property line and gave a little bit of illumination to the sidewalk, would that be amenable to the board?
Yeah, I believe that'd be fine. The planner feels that's acceptable.
Yeah, I'm going to take another look at your lighting plan as it, in relation to that, and we can work that out, yeah.
Yeah, we're at like 0 at some locations,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
okay. You want to speak to anything? We're going to come back to the hours of operation, and we're going to let the architect, Keith Schofield, with LMV come up here to discuss the revisions to the convenience store and the architecture of the canopy. We thought we were on the right path with some of the comments we had received previously, with the revisions we made. We do see that you have 2 new comments here, which is the design of the canopy for a hamlet feel and revise the architecture to be more of a country store look and to eliminate the outdoor decks on the apartments. So I'm going to let Keith speak to that as to what we provide.
Okay.
Which way would you like me to face for your discussion?
Let's first face it to the camera so that we can at least let it be picked up as part of the record. And then as we go on, we will move, we could turn it in the other direction, I guess.
Keith Schofield, Liska McCormick, Van Voris, and Poughkeepsie, architects. Addressing the first comment, we have, in the latest revision, moved the door to the center, which faces towards the pump island. And all the storefront that faces both sides have some protection from the weather. So I do feel that we've kind of addressed the feel of a general store with the architecture on the building already. We did relocate a few of the residential doors, and from what you've been submitted, I changed one more time. In lieu of disturbing the 9D side with a residential door, we put it back to what it was originally. So it's basically the convenience store part there, and we moved that door back to the New Hamburg Road side. So it doesn't have a conflict with the feel of what that 9D side had.
Okay.
And that door that was on that side will now go back on the side facing west. So that was one. So I think the intent is architecturally that we've kind of picked up the old town feel and what a general store would look like.
Okay.
Thank you.
Keep it on this side. I know there was concern with balconies or decks, and they are actually tucked in within the facade themselves, so they don't extend or protrude out past the face of the upper facade on the New Hamburg Road side. And I understand that there was concern of, people leaning towels or something like that over.
It's more of a storage issue, and you need a little excess space to keep something, you throw it out on the porch.
But I believe that's a property maintenance kind of thing, for the owner to address it, maybe have something in his lease even that, you're not to treat it in that manner. Because just down across the street and down is 35 New Hamburg Road. That is a two-story facade on the front with complete balcony across the whole upper level. If you go slightly down further on Route 9D to the north, and on the east side, there is also another white building that's got a complete balcony across. So I feel we're still meeting within the architecture that's in the surrounding area. But like I said, if there was a concern about what gets placed on the deck, I think that could be a property management.
Okay.
Well, I don't believe on a second story you're allowed to have them.
I think we can also, Mr. Chairman, add language that requires us to include in the lease that we have for the tenants that you can't have the outdoor storage that you're talking about, the barbecue and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So we can put that into the lease.
They would have to be, by code, I believe it's a small canister style.
No, you can't have anything.
Can't have that propane?
Can't have anything.
Then it's just electric.
Right, there's nothing, not even, I mean, well,
I thought
electric
they
you
limited the
possibly,
size of
electric you
the
could possibly
container.
have, but nothing, there's no fuel-fired equipment
think,
allowed on the balcony of a multiple dwelling. That's according to state fire code.
Would it appease the board if we were to add a site plan note indicating what can't be stored on the decks? That way it gives you a method of enforcement in the future?
Yeah, but if we get a complaint, then it goes to Barbara, and she's got to contact you guys. It's just extra work for us if somebody's going against what you want, because you're just leaving it open for them to do something, whether it's on the lease or not. They're tenants, and that's what...
He was
Yeah,
talking about the lease, he was talking about putting it in.
Put in their lease, right.
In the...
But the lease
plan
is,
too, but-
right, the lease is one thing, but I think at the end of the day, I think even if it's, it becomes an enforcement issue. Again, it's something that would have to be written into the, either into the final resolution or into the special use permit, about what would be on that. And if they're, even if we write it into special use permit, then it would be in violation of that special use permit, which would kind of, hold a little more weight because, in my belief, I believe that would, revoke the special use permit on there if you're in violation of the conditions of the permit. Refer to the attorney if that's correct.
You're correct, and normally you would make it a condition of the special permit and site plan, and also have them bootleg that
Right.
with the provision in there.
So it would be both on the site plan and the special use permit. And I don't know, I mean, I'm only speaking for myself, I mean, the rest of the board members, I don't know if you guys agree with that or not.
Yeah, fully. It has to be incumbent upon the owner and not the leaseholder, because that's just staff chasing their tail every day.
It's a combination of the two.
You understand, it has to be incumbent upon the owner.
Yes. And also, we'd like to do it a combination of the two because it gives you the opportunity if the owner's not enforcing it.
Yep. Okay. So that would be, again, I think by adding it to the special use permit also will make it more binding on the owner of the property to, abide by what needs to be addressed when the issues arise. I'd like the planner to weigh in on the country store look, on that comment. Was there, anything in particular in terms of features to be added to that particular
No, not on the spot, not off the top of my head. I'd be happy to review it further. I've been quite pleased with the architecturals. Can you talk a little bit more about these columns on the back? Those are new, right?
Right. Well, no, they were on.
They're on the previous.
Yeah. Let me move it to this one since we adjusted some doorways.
Yeah. They're to match these columns.
Correct. So basically, these project out over and they provide shelter. So these are the support. So we figured the double column was kind of more appealing than just one funky column. It gives it a little bit of.
Do you know what the gap is there?
It's 5 foot.
5 foot. Okay.
Or I should say for the outer part to the the face of the lower part is 5 foot.
And
So
these
it's a-
balconies recede to match this
Correct.
depth, right? That's
Right, they don't
flush
come out
across.
past that face.
Okay. And the balconies covered by the roof line as well?
No,
No,
they're
they're
open. So that's what allows the roof to pop out and give the
And recede.
projection so that it's not a boxy facade.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And like I said, we took the door off that was on the front on that side, so it didn't compete with.
And the ground story windows, these have all been designed based on other architectural elements, right? These aren't larger or smaller
No,
than...
everything was within scale.
Okay.
I mean, you're seeing these for the first time, right? So you need some time to.
I'd be happy to...
I mean, I know they've been submitted every time.
Oh, they were?
Submissions,
Yeah,
so-
there were
Oh, they
some-
were?
I wasn't
Okay.
anticipating...
Yeah, we weren't
because,
anticipating that you were going to be on tonight, so.
That's why I haven't reviewed these. I'd be happy to review the architectural submissions and provide more specific comments regarding the country store aesthetic and what we're hoping to achieve here.
Okay, could you get those, I mean, the comments to the, send the comments to the board and everybody
Prior
else so we
to
can.
circulating into the applicant, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and we'll have some comments also. We thought that they were off the agenda tonight, so we didn't finish. So I assume for the next meeting we'll have comments.
More country
Yep.
comments. And I'll get you
Okay.
those architectural comments,
Sure.
hopefully ahead of time. I'll get them to the board first, but
Okay,
And then we also, as far as the canopy goes, instead of just a plain canopy, we gave the slope surface and we're matching the building with the columns.
all the same, or
Right.
similar.
Right, so if you have something other than that in mind, please feel free to
Absolutely.
let us know what that would be. Sure, yeah. I just want to quick do this. So this is what I was talking about with our, instead of just a flat canopy, we do have a shingle slope apron that would go around it, or a mansard. And the colonnade will be stone addressed like it is on the building with decorative panels kind of going up the column itself.
okay.
So, again, anything that you have in mind that you feel would be more fitting, I'd be interested to see. We can approach it that way.
Okay.
He's having discussion
It's basically a
All right.
to the audience.
Okay. All right, so that addresses the three items for the architectural. Okay. All right, I'd like to go, okay, so why don't we go back then to the hours of operation?
So as to the hours of operations, we don't have an answer for you yet at this time. We need to look at why we're being asked to treat it differently than perhaps others. So I want to look at everything in totality and meet with the client and have that discussion with them. So we're taking that under advisement.
Okay.
And we'll be back in touch with you as to how we're going to respond to that.
All right, you'll bring that back at a future date.
Yes.
Okay. All right, before we go here, do any of the board members have any questions regarding this, the items that were addressed in this letter?
Not until it comes back with the hours
Dresses
of
and everything.
operation, that's all.
Okay.
Did
All right,
he
Abby.
indicate the cost?
So which one?
Item number 3, he said, excuse me, item one, number 2, the water line extension, who would be able to connect to it and what the cost would be? I didn't hear that, maybe I missed it.
Yeah, no, he
Yeah,
said,
we did discuss some of that with them. They're going to extend the 8-inch main into the property. And then they're going to, on the back two houses, they're going to go ahead now and they've agreed to run the water line to the houses. At their cost, but that's up to the property owner to allow them or not.
Thank you, I
I missed that.
Okay? All right? That was number 3 we're talking about. 2, sorry. Okay. Any other questions?
What are you looking to do with the hours of operation? Why is this under advisement? What exactly are you looking to do?
So, actually, because I've not had a chance on my own schedule to confer with my client on that, I've just spoken with him. We will accommodate and revise those hours and come back to you with them. So we'll do it, probably close at midnight and open up at 5.
All right.
In response to your request.
Okay.
What I also want to do is, Phil, did you want to give us an update on conversations with DOT?
You wish to
Good evening, Philip Greeley, Colliers Engineering. So at the last meeting, I think we described the improvements that we're making at the intersection. The county is waiting for the town's input, which you authorized tonight, about lifting the restriction on the left turn out of the New Hamburg driveway. That was originally put in place during 4 to 6 because of the train traffic coming back at that time and the queues. However, the county has indicated they were willing to listen to the town's consultant, and you've authorized them to proceed with that. In terms of the improvements, we are dedicating land to both the county along New Hamburg Road and to the state DOT along Route 9D to accommodate the improvements, which is realigning the intersection that will allow to improve the efficiency of that signal. Right now, because of the misalignment, it has to operate separate phases. We will also be building the sidewalk along the frontage on both roadways, and that will all be within the state and county right-of-ways. So we've already started that process with New York State DOT. It's actually a lengthy process. We have to do mapping, title reports, et cetera. So that is underway, and we will proceed with our permits. The state DOT is requiring us to upgrade the traffic signal. It may have to actually be replaced. They're going to tell us. So all that does is add cost to us, but all of the improvements are being paid for by the applicant. Just to give you an order of magnitude on similar projects, we're looking at somewhere between $350,000 to $500,000 of improvements at that intersection, just for the traffic and pedestrian improvements. So the final determination on the signal will be DOT's input, but that's pretty much where we are. And now that you've authorized your consultant, I think that would be helpful with getting that limitation lifted. And we have to comply with any other signing recommendations or requirements of the county and the state.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, did anybody have any questions for the traffic consultant?
No, not this time.
No? Okay. All right.
Just the last point, Mr. Chairman, would be just to confirm the planning board's request that we will we'll adjourn the 6-day period to your July 7th meeting.
Yes, you've agreed to extend
We
that
consent that, yes.
62-day window to the 7th.
July, correct.
Yep, okay.
Okay.
So we will, I'm assuming you're on the next agenda for the 21st, and this stuff will be addressed, and the planner and the engineer will have their letters to you prior to the meeting with any other open issues that we might have not discussed within this letter here. Okay?
Fair enough, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right. Okay. Our next item on the agenda this evening is Popeyes Wappinger Falls Chicken LLC. No, there's no public comment this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Nicholas Ward Willis, I'm Keenan Bean, on behalf of the applicant Popeyes Chickens of Wappinger. We're appearing before you tonight for a continued review of our site plan application to locate a Popeyes fast food restaurant at the former Romanelli's restaurant at the shopping square on Route 9.
Let me just hold you for a second here.
Certainly.
Excuse me, anybody wants to talk, go outside in the hallway. It's bad enough that we can't hear with the equipment running right now, so in order for us to conduct a meeting, there'll be no talking in the audience. Thank you. Okay. All right, you can proceed now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nicholas Ward Willis with Keenan Bean for the applicant for Popeyes Restaurant to be located at the shopping center where Romanelli's Restaurant used to be. We're turning that into the fast food Popeyes Restaurant, keeping the building footprint the same. Mr. Lapine from Chase is here to go through the site plan with you. This is a continuation of the application. And I'm going to just ask Chris, given the lateness of the hour and how hot it is in here, just to go through the application.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Once again, Chris Lapine with the Chase & Companies. I'll make this brief. We were asked by the applicant to develop a set of site plans to address comments that were provided to their architect. The plans that we provided to the planning board outline the areas of the former Romanelli's restaurant where we propose to modify the existing pavement and curbing on the outside of the site, along with the striping for the adjoining parking as well. The planning board had made some comments about enhancing the landscaping on the site. We've provided a pretty enhanced landscaping plan. We took a visit of the site and took into consideration the stock that's out there, which is very limited, and we've certainly increased the landscaping and all the surrounding islands adjoining the site. We also had that same landscaping theme extend out to Route 9D. We were aware that the planning board had requested that ADA accessible route be created from Route 9D to the Popeyes, for which we've shown here on our plan. We've incorporated the crosswalk that was requested of the former, of the architect who was on this project. We also provided, it's in your packet as well, updated utility plans showing where we're tying into the existing water line and the replacement of the on-site grease trap. The one thing we weren't able to do on time for this planning board meeting, there was a request to try to create a photometric plan that addressed some of your lighting comments from the previous architect's plan and took into consideration the existing lighting. Our FOIL request, we were able to get the information after this submittal, so we are due you a new lighting plan. I hear your comments as it relates to what was proposed before for the lighting and the intensity. It's a little too heavy for this application. I'm in agreement with you. We are going to lower the lighting on that to 3,000 Kelvin type lighting, similar to what we do on other projects. And we're going to develop the lighting plan in accordance with the ISNA standards as well. So, and we'll take into account the existing poles that are out there. Some of them are 30 foot in height.
Okay.
That helps.
All right, we get the, okay, I think you probably touched on most of the issues anyway, but why don't we go through some of the issues with the letters that were sent over from the planner and the engineer. We'll start with the planner's letter real quick.
So I liked your landscaping plan. I thought it was really good. Most of our comments, as you mentioned, revolved around lighting and signage. My only question as you finalize the lighting plan is that the proposed signage, however, it may differ from the original proposal, that the lighting for that signage is incorporated into the lighting plan, because the last plan had a couple of different illuminated boards, as well as sort of gooseneck lamps along the periphery of the top of the building, and none of that had been incorporated into the original lighting plan?
Correct. I read your previous comments and I saw the previous plan. You are correct.
Okay, perfect. And then we are curious about revised signage. I didn't see signage submitted.
Yeah, we weren't, unfortunately, we weren't made aware that there was a previous signage issue, unfortunately, from the applicant. So I am going to take into consideration the comments that were provided and work with the applicant. I understand from the pre-meeting, the board's not fond of the Love the Chicken signage that's being proposed on the northern side of the building. Is that an accurate assessment?
It was like slanted script that
Yes.
we discussed this last time. Did those conditions make it to you from the last time?
I wasn't part of the project last
Gotcha,
time.
gotcha.
So
That's what I thought.
This is
Okay.
something that slipped through the crack. I didn't know there was a signage issue as it related to
Okay.
that
So
particular.
when we talk about the latest prototype of Popeye's Chicken, are we talking about the franchisor itself? Are you talking about the whole building on the outside is going to look differently based
No.
on Popeye's Corporation, or are we talking about what you're presenting? So
There's no,
there's really nothing that different there, right?
this was the previous plan that was
Okay.
submitted in terms
Okay.
of the architecture to the planning board. My understanding from reading the comments herein is it's not so much an issue with the facade and materials. There's
Okay.
more of an issue with the actual signage in terms of the logo.
That was one of a few conditions
Yeah.
that we discussed last time when you weren't here. The signage, the slanted script, we weren't interested in, you know, and a bunch of other things that I just can't think of right now.
I think we're just, yeah, I think at the
Does
end
all
of the
that
day.
signage together exceed what they're supposed to have or no?
Yeah, well, I think that square footage would have to be calculated to be considered signage, which would put them way over the top on the allowed
Yeah.
signage.
When you
That'd
take
be-
into account the big square
The
on
big
the Love
square
the Chicken.
of the, right,
Well, everything, yeah, the chicken on the side of the building,
yeah.
the writing, this, that, there's a lot of stuff up there. It's actually
From-
signage that doesn't look
So
like
from
you
my notes from the-
classified it as signage.
Yeah. My notes from the previous meeting, I had something there, we had discussed regarding removing the script logo from the side of the building. And I believe the applicant was gonna look into that at the time.
Okay.
But he didn't think that that was gonna be an issue. But that would weigh, I believe that, that also would have to be in consideration of, the rest of the signage on the building too. So we, because we didn't have calculations of it at the time.
I think that would take you above the need for a variance.
Okay.
With the Love the Chicken sign.
Yeah.
And take what?
Do it.
It'll take you above what?
It'd be above what's permitted. You would most likely need a variance when you take into account the
If they,
Love the-
right, if they exceed the amount of signage on the building, more than what the zoning code
Yeah.
allows, they might have to go get a variance, or depending upon if it's insignificant, the number that they propose, that we do have the ability to approve it without them getting a variance.
okay.
That's, right.
So I just want to bring up the signage as long as you stay within what's allowed, is allowed on the front, but not on the sides of the building. So that's something that the planning board would have to approve.
So the signage on the sides of the building, assuming the Love the Chicken is removed,
Love That Chicken, I believe it was, it was like slanted script
Yes.
that
Oh, yeah.
we didn't, yeah, and I believe the gentleman said he was, in favor of our recommendation to eliminate that altogether.
would you consider the two small logos on the side?
How big are they? What do you think? I don't know.
What, do,
See that?
I can't see it from here, yeah.
I mean,
How big are they?
May I approach the board with this plan?
Sure.
yeah, bring it on up, so take a look at it.
it's high.
Yeah.
You guys don't.
The orange circle.
Yeah, these circles.
The orange circle logo?
Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely, get rid of this. Yeah, the orange circle is fine.
That's there.
Yeah.
Make that go away.
That would just be on that side or the other side
They have it
also?
on both sides. for
Yeah, I
now.
don't have a problem with that. I mean,
Yeah, so let them see what the,
Oh, okay.
They only have a maximum of 100 square feet. Just looking at that, we're around 60 right there.
yeah.
About two logos on the front of this one is here, and this sign, so as long as this is within 100 square feet, that's pretty code.
Yeah.
This would,
Go bye-bye.
Then that would eliminate that freestanding sign too.
you're allowed one freestanding sign that they're going to replace the existing freestanding sign.
Yes, Barbara. On the sign, go ahead, restate, maybe get before the microphone and you can restate that question again.
You're allowed one freestanding sign for the building, for the
So
code.
you're in a shopping center, so I don't think that applies there. But we did talk about that freestanding sign. I don't know how long it's there. And I explained to the board that before 2005, building permits for signs didn't go through the computer.
Okay.
So they just went through the previous zoning administrators and those beyond. So I couldn't find an actual sign permit for the Romanelli sign. Normally in a shopping center, they just get one big sign, which they have, freestanding sign, and if it's on a corner, which this is, they have one on the Myers corner side. It's unusual to see a freestanding sign for a particular business. And we did send order to remedies out, but those were specific to Romanelli's put a sign on the roof, they would have banners, so we were addressing those particular things that were being put up at the time.
Okay.
So, I mean, so it's up to the board. I can't say that it was ever issued or not issued because those files are not.
I'm going to let the attorney speak to this. He's done some research.
Right, we looked at the town files through FOIL, we did submit a letter, and sort of what, in my mind, is conclusive is the code enforcement memorandum in which he stated Romanelli's Restaurant has 3 approved sign permits, all of them issued in 2000. 2 of the permits are for signs located on the building, and 1 is for a freestanding sign. So you have the code enforcement officer at that time stating there was an approved freestanding sign. There's only 1 freestanding sign associated with Romanelli's, and that's the one we're talking about. So I recognize the records may not be as complete as we would all like, but I think the documentation that we discovered and the memorandum supports that that was a permitted sign and is legally up there, and we can rely upon it.
So
And
but
we
isn't there,
submitted
go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I didn't say that.
Oh, all right, no, go ahead, she didn't say.
Isn't the other sign a freestanding sign as well? You have one on the corner of Myers, right?
Right, so that
Isn't that considered?
freestanding sign was for all the businesses, or maybe the businesses in that back building. And the one, when you first come in off of Route 9, there's one on the north side of the entrance exit. And that's a typical sign for a shopping center. So, as Mr. Little said, there may have been a sign permit, I'm just telling you that at the time, sign permits were kept separately. And I just don't have the sign permits from back in that time.
And to your point, I was drawing the distinction between the freestanding pole sign for the shopping center versus the pole sign for the Romanelli's, and the code enforcement officer's memo specifically talks about there being a permitted freestanding sign for Romanelli's. And I think that's sufficient for us to establish that it's a permitted
But
sign.
I just want to point out that if somebody gets a permit to put on a multiple freestanding sign, that would count as a sign for the freestanding sign. I get permits all the time when say Goodwill leaves and somebody else comes in, they'll have a sign permit for that freestanding sign for their permit for both sides, a double one, and then they'll have whatever's on the building. So I can't prove it was issued or not issued.
Right.
Well, how many signs do you need for that particular building? You're gonna have them on the building. We got so much sign pollution now. But you think this will just add to it?
In our client's
Steph?
estimation this is necessary for their business. We'll go back and certainly speak with the client about the board's concern and come back to you next month to have a continued discussion. But I understand the concern about sign pollution, so we'll go back and have the discussion.
I mean, the place is going to get notoriety as time goes, the place is going to get notoriety as time goes on. I mean, it's a well-known name for chicken.
Now,
So I don't think it's going to be an issue, you know, without the freestanding sign.
Now, if that sign, because I believe that sign is still there, correct, by Romanelli's?
Yes.
Okay, so the sign, the proposal would be for a similar sign that's exactly the same.
That is correct.
So it wouldn't be any higher, it wouldn't be any bigger?
That is my understanding. I'll confirm that, but
Okay.
yes.
I mean, obviously, we're not making a decision this evening, but I think all the board members need to make a trip out there at some point. I mean, we're all, you know, through town all day long. I mean, somebody at least take a look at it, you know, so we have a better understanding of it. I mean, because there is something there at least to look at. Let us do that, and then at the next meeting, we can give you a definitive answer on that.
Okay, fair
Okay.
enough.
One other thing, would they be proposing to light it, or would they keep it as just a wood sign, or whatever material they choose, as the Romanelli sign is here? Because that's another issue, are they looking to have it lit up?
Okay, thank you. We'll look into that. Was the Romanelli sign lit up?
No, I believe it's just a wood sign.
Which the,
The Romanelli's freestanding sign, I asked him if they are proposing their sign to be illuminated in some fashion.
yeah,
So then that would make it brighter and more, you know, call your attention to it more than just a wood sign that's behind a lot of trees and bushes there for Route 9.
okay.
Okay, we will go back and talk to the applicant about that and follow up any questions with Barbara. If you don't mind, can we request that the public hearing be scheduled for your next meeting? I think we provided you a very much more detailed site plan, the enhanced landscaping. Signage issues tend to get discussed anyway as part of the continuation during the site plan review, so we think it'd be appropriate to sort of hear any comments the public has.
Yeah, and we will have so we'll have a complete application at the next meeting with both sets together? Is that how it's going to be submitted? I don't know if there was anything that was changed from the original, or are we still working off that original plan set?
The only thing that's valid from the original is the architectural elevations that were provided. We provided an entire new site plan set to you.
Okay. All right, so with that submittal, we should be fine? Okay. All right, so need a motion to schedule a public hearing for Popeyes. But before we do so, just need to clarify with the secretary regarding the agenda dates.
Do we have to hack out that thing before the public hearing? The sign thing?
Well, we could talk about it, we could talk about it during the public hearing. We could discuss the sign issue at that point.
Neighbors are there, that might be an
Yeah.
issue.
Huh?
That might be an issue with the neighbors either way, right?
Yeah.
Like the businesses that are competing with them.
Yeah, but if anybody, right, but if the public comes out and they don't want it, then we can turn around and we can.
Kill it.
At that point, you're nixing it at that point anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. If if the board decides to.
Yep.
B, could we get the, what would be the next available date for a public hearing? Okay.
Sure, I think I'm going to be here this evening anyway. I think I'll be here that evening anyway.
So, okay, so we need a motion to go ahead and approve a public hearing for Popeye's Chicken
I'll
for
make
July
that
the
motion.
7th. Okay, so a motion was made. Marcos made the motion. Need us, seconded by Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody, any noes? Okay, motion carries.
Would it be asking too much if we could be on the June 21st agenda to give us some time to speak with our client about the signage and come back and discuss signage at that meeting with you?
How heavy are we on that
If you're
agenda at
heavy, I
this point?
understand.
I have a question. You haven't submitted the photometrics yet. When do you plan on submitting those?
We're working on those now.
Here's my reasoning for June 21st. We need them here in enough time to get them down to Malcolm.
Nope,
And
understood.
for him to do a review, that would basically be necessary by next Wednesday, right? So if there's a review is due next Wednesday, and you're not gonna get us a plan till the end of this week, till we mail it down, or even PDF, I'm just
Understood.
looking at time for you to come, and if he hasn't finished the review.
The lighting, we could certainly wrap that up and handle it during the site plan approval. I figured I'm still hearing some comments about the building signage, and I can come in, work with the applicant in the next week, and then present it to you, so we've made some headway on that prior to the public hearing. That's all I was suggesting at that. I can go either way.
Yeah, no, I know. Let's put it off for now, just so that we can do it the night of the public hearing.
Sure.
I don't see, listen, I'm hoping that we can dwindle these items down through the public hearing process, and then maybe move it along from there. Because I believe that we're pretty much in line with everything else, right? I mean, there's still a lot of comments that have to be addressed, but
It's just the issue.
waiting upon the submission that gets sent in, if we
We're
could
just on
narrow.
the lighting and the building signage, so
Yeah.
we'll have those addressed.
Okay. All right. Okay. Our next item on the agenda this evening is Myers Run LLC subdivision.
We can turn the heat up on your coat.
I know. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
So I'm here on behalf of my son, Michael. This is Myers Run, which is on Myers Corners Road, 22.9 acres, 12 lots proposed, town road, individual septic systems, town water. They've engineered an open drainage system, grass swales on the road, crossover basin out to lower lot into a retention basin.
Yeah, you can take the mic off the holder if you want to. Okay.
So I know their first meeting, there was an issue with a common drive on two of the upper lots. I was sitting in on that meeting. Since then, they met with the county. The county was in favor of putting a drive off of Myers Corners Road, a common drive for these two lots. So they eliminated that driveway that separated up in here. I know, it was somewhat cumbersome on the side yards and the garages going in and things, so that's been all cleaned up. Excuse me. But, so based upon that, that was the only changes basically from the last meeting. I know we received comments on Friday from CPL and the town planner. I know Joe Berger, the engineer, had responded to some of the comments. I don't think they've been submitted yet, so I'm here to discuss it.
Okay, so let's see here. We start with, I guess we could start with the engineer's comments. Looks like his list a little longer.
Yeah, a little longer.
Yeah, so we had some comments. I think what Kevin is referring to is what we talked about earlier, and that we had a concern about the amount cut on the site that would have to be exported. But based upon discussion I had with the engineer on Friday, as I had told you earlier, there was an error made in the calculation.
Pete, hold on a second.
I'm sorry. It is off, sorry. There you go. I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
So based upon the discussion that we had, there was an error that was made in the cut fill calculations. Joe sent me some revised calculations on Friday that will be part of an updated plan set that he submits. He's claiming that some of the excess cut material from the road would be used around other houses. So that's something that, we'll check as we move along. There's some comments here. We didn't have enough time to get through the stormwater plan. We will. However, there are a couple things that we do want to go over. One is we want you to have a meeting sooner rather than later with the highway superintendent and our office just to go over, the road section. Joe had done a previous subdivision off of New Hackensack Road, Fernia subdivision, that used the open drainage swales. That was with the former highway superintendent. I don't know, maybe, Mike, likes that concept, or maybe he doesn't, but I think we should get that like discussion going soon, and we can help with that, coordinate that. So the other thing, Kevin, that I discussed earlier with the board, and Joe and I had a little discussion on Friday, and I think we touched at it at the last meeting, was a lot of the lots have overlapping grading. So Joe, similar to what he did on the Fernia project, was he talked about having a common grading easement.
The blanket easement we talked about today.
But, the problem is that once the map is filed, or Mike as the applicant, not saying that you're going to do it, but you can go ahead and sell like lots to like anybody. And so there's the problem where if one person buys a lot and they build and they do their grading, the person like next to them buys a lot, but they don't build for another like 3 years, and then they have to come in and try to grade onto a newly finished lot. That's going to create like issues. So I just brought it up to the board. I know in the past when we've had this case, and I think we talked about it the last time, is that it would be better to do the grading for the lots at the same time as the road construction. This way it's done. You don't have to worry about, you can sell lots at any time. You can pull like building permits after the binder's done.
I agree.
And it just makes for a much cleaner, job. So, and I think that's the way that the board was leaning. So if we all don't have an issue with that, then that's the way that I think that we should go to make sure there's no issues. Are you good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So we had some other like minor comments. I think that Malcolm wants to talk about the potential for cluster. So let me just see if there's anything. I don't most of our other comments were technical, not really any major issues. At some point we'll need something from the county on a conceptual like level that says that they're okay with the main access for the road and for the common like driveway, but you got to provide like more details and approved plans, and but we need something so at least if we get to the point of a seeker determination, we at least want to have something from the county on a conceptual level.
So I think we would move forward with all that if once the board and everyone's comfortable with the basic lot count.
Layout. Right. So, so that's pretty much our major items. I think we'll turn it over to Malcolm unless there's any questions for me on the board. or from the board?
Yeah. Anybody have any questions regarding the engineer's letter to the applicant?
No.
Okay, so being there's none, I'll open the floor to the planner. Go ahead and,
So we discussed a few of these issues with Pete. A few minor design flaws that kind of encumber the sites. One of them is what we discussed earlier, which is that the wetland buffer on the east side of the road, those lots are heavily encumbered by the wetland buffer. And that buffer runs up right behind some of their houses, so functionally they wouldn't have a backyard to put a shed or do anything other than leave as an empty yard. They'd have those boulders sort of right outside their back windows. Another point that Pete raised was that some of these driveways are limited in their maneuverability, and they lack the ability to do, the maneuverability to turn around in your own driveway and front out again. And in addition, some of these sites are considerably larger than some of the others, and sort of a culmination of those brought about the idea of cluster and whether or not that has significance here, and we'd be able to limit disturbance, we'd be able to increase separation from the wetland area and keep all of the development much closer to the road. That being said, we would do that once the board felt comfortable with the lot count and the standard subdivision. As a note for you, as long as the county is okay with that second curb cut, that's great. Conceptually, though, we still need to see a demonstration of individual driveways. And that can just be an inset, but at least at a conceptual basis, with any shared driveway, we like to have evidence that should a future owner want to pursue, that they could look for a curb cut permit from the county and create an individual driveway if there are, issues between neighbors for whatever reason.
I don't think the county was totally opposed about two drives, but they said we prefer one cut, obviously.
Yeah, I think
if they can get it.
I think that if we can limit it to one curb cut there for lots 11 and 12, everyone's made better off. But conceptually, we need to know that they could each have
Yeah,
separate
right, that it
driveways.
works, and that's
And that
a
it works.
code requirement, right?
Yes.
Right, so it's just that you have to show that it could work if,
As far as the cluster, right, we talked about that today. I mean, when, with the size of the homes that, you really have to build to make this work, which in turn relates to the size of the septic systems, between that and separations, I don't know in something like this if the cluster would work. I mean, we looked at it hard since Friday, actually, when some of the comments came through, and I don't really see how you get it to work. I know them lots come up to the wetland buffer. It is a town wetland buffer. I think, if the planning board feels good about the plan and the subdivision, they have the ability, I believe, to mitigate some of that 100-foot under your jurisdiction, if I remember right, unless that's changed, on the town wetland buffer. Because it's a federal wetland buffer with no buffer. The buffer is created
the
by
federal
town.
wetland doesn't have the
Zero.
buffer,
So
yeah.
that buffer is created under the town code, not federal state. So, but I'm not saying that that's going to happen or the board's going to approve it, but, we would be asking for a little bit of relief there. We did also talk today, the boxes that are drawn on the subdivision map for the houses, they're more realistic of what's being built today. So many subdivisions I've been in and subdivision approved maps, they draw a small box, 30 by 40, 30 by 50. It's not the house that gets built. So we try to be realistic about the footprint of the box we put on the map, but we did talk about them lots because they're 60 by 60 boxes, so they're good size. Chances are the houses are going to get reconfigured, and we're going to get away from that buffer a little more. I don't know exactly how much yet. This is where we got so far.
So the placement of the stones on your plan, does that follow the town wetland buffer, or is that what you would propose?
No, that's the
what
town
you're
wetland buffer.
Okay.
So what we would like to do is we'll reconfigure them lots a little bit, size of the houses, maybe propose some relief, a relief line as a proposed relief line that we would ask the planning board if they would consider and see how that goes.
I mean, it's up to the board. You can still ask for a conceptual cluster to demonstrate the infeasibility of it. That's up to you.
The cluster would be up to the applicant, because now he's got to go another step at this point. Because he's got to go outside of us, and he's got to go to the town board, I believe, to get that approval.
Well, you would refer it to the town board, and the town board would have the authority to compel
To go
them.
ahead and, right.
Ultimately, it would be up to you. The town board would compel them to prepare a clustered plan,
Yep.
and the planning board would then be able to weigh the pros and cons of each, and the planning board would still retain, the ability to say,
Right,
we looked at the cluster and it didn't do what we
Correct.
wanted it to do, let's go with the standard.
Right, they're just allowing it, it's more or less for the zoning itself to allow for a cluster. That's what it's gonna come down to. So, I mean, it sounds like you have a little bit of thought you need to put into the process.
Yeah, we did.
I have a question,
Yeah.
quick. Kevin, the size of the septics that Joe's showing, do you know if they're a 4-bedroom?
4-bedroom.
Is there any chance that some of the ones that like are tight up against, the buffer of the houses, any chance they could get moved a little towards the road?
Maybe keep the water lines, or, we have I know the comment about the water lines, I know we surveyed to get the water lines, and I read your comment about, just the construction of it in itself, it's tight.
Yeah.
We're just trying to maintain the separations. I do believe we can massage this up a bit and get the houses up, so, maybe we have to ask for a little relief in here, if the board would consider it.
All right, I mean, so, you may have some wiggle room to move that around a little bit to give the folks a little bit more of a backyard. Has the health department already been out to witness the deeps?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, worst come to worst, you may need to dig a couple more, but I don't know.
We don't know about.
Yeah, I mean, you may already have enough out there, What about lot number 7? That's like a big lot. Could you do anything with that to make that a little smaller and reconfigure a couple of these a little bit? I don't know.
We moved this around so many times, I said the same thing to Joe early on, but it just, we end up back in the same place. And a lot had to do with where we could put the septics, where we had reasonable work, where they would work away from the water. There were several constraints that we were up against in order to try to make this thing out.
Okay. But you'll look at, try to make a few improvements there at the buffer.
I know you guys said you're on that. I was out in it all day today too. I'm like baked.
Yeah, no, it is warm in here.
Thank you.
Okay.
So we were talking about circulating.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, at this point, the board could consider
Yeah, I
circulating
know,
lead agency.
yeah. I was just asking, I was just gonna wait to see if you had any other questions regarding that, but at this point in time, we need to circulate for lead agency. So at this point, we need a motion to authorize the secretary to circulate for lead agency on this project.
I'll make that.
A second.
Okay, motion's made, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion's carried.
Now, Kevin, we just had, we had a couple very minor comments on the EAF, so Joe, did you have any? I didn't. Okay. So if Joe could just make those changes and then work with the planning office to get that to them, and then they'll go ahead and circulate it. All right?
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay. All right. Okay, our next item on the agenda this evening is a conceptual review for Burke 365 Route 82.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board, ladies.
So why don't you
I'm
go-
green, so go ahead.
So why don't you go through and explain what you're looking to do, explain that to the board so we have an understanding
Okay.
of what you're looking to do with this property.
Okay, I'm the current owner of 365 Route 82. Okay, what I'm trying to do on the first floor, it has that HM zone, is put an apartment and have an office on the one side. There used to be 2 offices and 1 apartment upstairs. But I've been trying to lease it, to sell it for over, in the great market. I just can't get any tenants. And the one that I did have was, she wanted a groomer, and it wasn't gonna work, like a hotel. So that didn't work with the town, so I'd like to try to put a 1-bedroom apartment on the first floor. There's an apartment above and an office, so I still keep the commercial space that's required in the zone.
As long as he maintains that one little commercial space, he's
The what, right? Yeah, as long as he keeps the one space, that would conform
Yeah.
with the zoning in the area.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So in terms of the conceptual plan of what they're proposing, I mean, obviously this is very, very limited, it's just based upon the floor plan that's been supplied. Usually we're looking at other issues too on the site, such as, parking, parking on the site,
Yeah.
lighting. Obviously, the engineer is going to want to, is going to want some confirmation from the health department, in terms of, water supply and also sewage disposal system
Yeah,
that are adequate. Right, no, I know. I mean, this is stuff that's all going to have to be presented in a full submission.
Okay.
So I'm just kind of like laying out all the stuff that's going to be coming up. Yeah, so this is, but in terms, let me ask the board before we go any further with this, but the board is, everybody on the board's kind of satisfied with the conceptual plan on the inside, and what he's proposing to do.
I'm good with the whole idea.
Yeah,
I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
okay. All right.
And if anything, the parking would be less stringent, right?
It'd be less intensive of a use, yeah.
Is there
definitely
parking in
would
the
be.
back of that? Is there parking in the back of that?
Yes, I do.
There is? Oh.
Yeah, there's 10 spots in the back, there's 4 in the front. Or, excuse me, there's a total of 10. 6 in the back, 4 in the front.
Okay.
Fine.
The front, I'm just drawing a blank. It's been a while since I've driven. When you drove by the front of that building, the windows in the front, are they big storefront type windows?
Yeah,
or?
there's 2 exactly, 2 storefront, and then we're not changing, we're gonna keep the same facade. I'll probably have to change out the windows to probably the same size, to newer ones.
Okay.
If the building inspector wants me to, but we're keeping the 2 entrances the same. We're not putting a 3rd entrance. It's gonna come into, there's a big enough hallway where we won't change the front of it, the look anyway. It's basically a box. Yeah, it's.
Okay. All right. So the front's just, you're gonna just update the window more or less.
Yeah, I'd like,
All right.
yeah.
Just give us some type of an elevation, on the building. Any changes that you're proposing to make to it?
Nothing unless the building inspector wants me to. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But it's part of a normal submission. That's all. Just
Okay.
elevations on a project.
Okay.
Okay.
So you need,
Hey, Brian. How are you? Okay. Have you had your engineer look at all into the water and sewer, sewage disposal? Because, you know, I'm looking at this, it's a .33 acre site, and, I assume it's probably an older septic system that's there, unless you had it redone.
I did have the well.
Speak into the mic.
I did have the well drilled. They went down 420 feet. I had to put a new well in and tanks and everything. And I can get you the exact.
Well, it's not, the issue I think is going to be, and it's something that he should,
The septic?
separation distance between, the well and the septic, and then you have to look at any wells and septics that are on any adjoining property. And when you have a .33 acre site, I'm not saying it's like impossible, but I think that's something that you're in, before you get into elevations and floor plans and, in my opinion, that's the most critical thing to have him look at it, talk to the health department, see what, they're gonna want, because I think that's probably the critical path.
Now, if there was 2 officers previously there, that doesn't.
Well, they'll give you, so the health department would give you, credit for, the 2 offices, but typically, like a bedroom generates more, like a residential use generates much more flow than a commercial use. So, your increase, there will be increased sewage disposal at the site. So that's just, I think that's your critical path before you get, too far. And I'd be glad to answer any questions, you know me.
Thanks. All right. So what get that information to the board.
Yeah, and if
So,
you're,
so based upon what you've submitted today, and let me leave it up to the rest of the board too, in case anybody else has any questions, but, today was just basically to feel us out for what you submitted.
Yeah.
And then whether or not what you're proposing, that you're on the right track. Because if it's something that was completely off, then we could tell you now that it would be that it would be an issue. So, before we then leave it up, let me just ask any of the board members, do you have anything specific that you'd like to see when this thing comes in for a full submittal to the board?
Nothing other than what we've already discussed with them and let them know. I don't see anything crazy there.
No, okay.
No, nothing. I think it's going to be better off with this conversion.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, so we'll await, like I said, consult your engineer and your architect, and like I said, you can reach out to our engineer there if he has if you have any questions, but, we'll be looking for, to go forward, we'll be looking for a full submittal for, to move the project forward.
Okay.
Okay?
Thanks for your time. I know it's been a long day.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
see you, Brian.
Okay. All right, I think we have one more item here.
Extension.
Yep, so, okay, so our last item this evening is an extension for Wappinger Farms Estates subdivision. They're seeking 2 90-day extensions on the subdivision application for the 11 single-family residences. If granted, the extension will begin retroactively from January 20th, 2021 through July 29th, 2021. Can we get a motion to approve the extension?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay. All right, is there any other business that the board wishes to discuss at this time?
No.
Okay, seeing there's none, we have a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion adjourned, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Let's get outside.